Hello everyone, Orange69 here, back again today with another rigging tutorial. So the last one that I made is severely outdated now, and I've always wanted to make a sequel to it, but I never had any good bogeys to show it. However, recently with Griffin, he asked me to rig this bogey for a project he's working on, and I obliged. But before we get on with the video, I want to say something, and I want to make it absolutely clear to people. Alright. Alright. 1. I do not accept commissions unless you fit these three requirements. 1. You have to be at least my friend on Discord or YouTube or someone I trust for at least 1 year. 2. You have to have a clean record. Any records that you had bad, being rude, a narcissist, or just being a bad person, calling someone else bad things in the past, I would not work with you. Alright? And 3. Do not ask me for Android conversions in my comment section. Seriously. Do not. A few days ago, someone asked me in the comment section, and I did not respond to that. Any comments that had any of this language, like Android conversion, please, I want this model or anything, will be deleted from my comment section. Alright? Good. Alright, now with that said, let's get into this. Shift S, cursor toward origin, and Shift A for add right here. So Shift A, Lattice. Name this E.R.main. Right? And then here, wheel 1, cursor. So Shift S, cursor to select it, or did that. So Shift A, Lattice, scale to the axle size. Okay, just about. So then, I'm gonna name this E.R.WH1 for wheel 1. Alright? Then, since we're gonna reuse this animation for both wheel 2 and wheel 3, I'm just gonna make the animation on only the rotation. So, I'm just gonna move my cursor to here and then press I. Then I'm gonna move to frame 30. So, Trainz had to be 30 frames to render this wheel animation to complete. If it's 29 frame, it will skip 1 frame. Like if the wheel, like if the spoke was just about here, it would just poof right there. Alright? So 360 degrees I. So return to frame 0, and then we're gonna need graph editor right here. So T linear tested animation. That's what we want to see. And then just gonna Shift S, cursor selected. Shift D, Shift S, selection to cursor. Then for the third wheel, Shift D, Shift S, selection to cursor. And then we're gonna name this wheel first, WH2 and WH3. Save that. Good. Okay, alright. So after I stopped recording, I realized that I didn't separate these rods and other parts. So off camera, I just did that. Alright, and deleted this and deleted the right side here so that I can mirror them. Alright. Okay, so back to the video. Okay, so, well, after the wheel lattices are done, so we're just gonna parent these wheels. Right, so right? So control P, object, select, shift select that. Yep. Control P, object. right? Scale, right? Parent it. Okay. Test animation. Yep. Okay, so for this next step, we're gonna animate the rods. Like, firstly, the side rods. Like this. And then, so we're just gonna select this crank pin right here, shift S, cursor selected. Now, if the crank pin is not aligned, you can also use the rod. You can use the first rod right here, and just select it, or maybe just select the front of this. Yeah, you can do that too. So, but since this is already aligned, we're just gonna do this. Just so we gotta add a shift A lattice, and scale it. Okay, that's right. Then we're gonna name this B.R.RDL. Yeah. Because some people would name this like B.R.RDL.left, but I don't do that anymore. It's way slower, and like this works just fine. So we're just gonna parent that, Control P object. Just that. Now you're gonna notice that if we're just gonna parent it right here, it's not gonna be like that. So let's see. Yeah, it's not gonna be like that. So first, what we want to do is just add a constraint right here, constraints, and then limit rotation on the x-axis. There we go. Right. So time to mirror this. Like, if you're like in the mulling stage and like you're totally be like this, like you're just gonna go to one side from the right side, and then you're just gonna mirror it and then turn it 90 degrees to the left. Alright. But how do you do this then? Well, you don't actually have to set your origin, so you're just gonna add a modifier. Modifier, mirror, gonna do it about split, and then object, main, main, which is at the center. Okay, there we go. Now we're just gonna turn this wheel minus 90 degrees, minus 90. There we go. Gonna apply the mirror modifier, and single this out, and then we're just gonna select this rod. P, selection, and then set origin to geometry, Control A, rotation to scale, Alt P, clear and keep transform. And so, okay, Control A, rotation to scale, geometry again, check, and then back here. Then we're just gonna do the same thing with this. Okay, here's. Alright, so we're just gonna again minus 90 degrees, and then we're just gonna shift D, duplicate this, and oh fuck, no. Sorry about that, my mouse slipped. Then just minus. Oh, okay, calm down. So, shift D, and B.R.RD R minus, and just Alt P, clear and keep transform, just back, then Control P, object, then this rods right here, Control P, object. See? There we go.
But Percy just went.
Alright, for the next step, we're gonna animate the rod. Like, you know, this piston, the piston rod. Okay, so again, we're gonna select this crank pin, shift S, we're selected, shift A, lattice. We're just gonna scale it around right here. And so, now this is very important. You're gonna want to align it on the x-axis. Like, the x-axis has to be straight, or else the cylinder, like when you animate it, it would just like move like side to side, but we don't want that. Right, so we're just gonna move it to around here. Shift this, right. Name this B.R.STL. Right. We're just gonna come to here. We're just gonna select this. Shift this, selected. We're just gonna duplicate, lock x-axis, shift S, selection to cursor, and then scale it. Let's see, check the x-axis. right? It is the same. And then we're just gonna duplicate and scale down. Right, we're just gonna rename it b.r.sd1l and b.r.sd2l. Now I will parent the b.r.sd2l to sd1l, Control P, object. Next, we're gonna add a bone or armatures. So then, like Shift S, selected, and then Shift A, armature. We're just gonna move that GY -2, right? Still, and then we're just gonna go into edit mode. You can just press tab, okay, Shift S, selection the cursor, and then we're gonna extrude here. Control P, selection the cursor. Cursor selected. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Parent b.r.sdl to the real lattice. There we go. Next, we're just Shift S, select it. Now Shift S, selection the cursor, and then we're gonna come to here, EY -1. So we're gonna have a bone arrangement like this. Now we're gonna go into tab, like now we're going into pose mode, like Control Tab, right here. So we're gonna bone constraints, game versus schematic. Also, if you're asking why didn't I name the bone, well, it's because like I found out like you don't actually need to name the bones after like the animation should already write. Like after like it write the IM and like the .anim file, like the bones are useless. Like so like during the export process, I would hide these. So then just okay. All right. So we're gonna select this bone, add a constraint, copy location, armature, copy location bone, and then finally this bone, inverse schematics, IK stretch, that's the 1, X, IK lock, X, Y, and Z. Right? Just save. Okay, test it. There, we're gonna want it to do it like this. Alright, time for the lattice. We're just gonna add a constraint, copy location to the SD1 location, zone 2, and then this one, SD2, we're gonna copy rotation. And 1. There. So you don't need to like add copy location and copy rotation. That would be just a waste. Alright, like this, it's just gonna be on the y-axis, and like this is just gonna copy the rotation. So yeah. And since SD2 is parented to SD1, like it will just follow. So yeah. So we're gonna temporarily hide the bone, and then we're just gonna parent this to SD1 on P object, and then this copy rod to P object. Now let's see. There we go. Bone. Right. Time to duplicate this. Right. So here's a really quick method to do this. So we're gonna copy this value right here. Control C. And then we're gonna use a calculator. So 0.970568 times 2 equals 1.941136. Alright, we're just gonna copy that. And then just select all of these. And then press Shift E. So T X minus. You're just gonna paste that value. And it's on the other side. Right, so again, now we're just gonna rename something. So STL became STR, STL became STR, R, then same thing, we did 3 minus 90. Okay, we're just gonna only need to plot it. Alt P, clearing the transform. So reset all the default values. 0. This again, the object. There we go. Now for the mirror. Microphone. Again, mirror modifier. X B.R.main. X value makes 30 this 60. Right, so we're just gonna control L, copy modifiers. There we go. And then minus 90. We're just gonna select all this and isolate them. So just apply mirror. Okay, then select both of these. Wireframe view, and then just selection. Select these. Alt P, clear, and transform. Set origin geometry, rotation scale. Right. That's parent keys, control P, object, control P, object. There we go. That's what we want. Okay. So next part. This right here, the eccentric crank and the expansion lever. Right, do the same steps as before. So Shift S, cursor to select it, then Shift A, lattice, scale it. There we go. Make the axis. So make a middle ground right here, and somewhere around here. There we go. Name it E.R.ECEN L and L. Right. Then we're just gonna move it over here. Shift S, cursor to select it. Again. Shift E, lock the X-axis. Shift S, select the cursor. We don't have to scale this one. Now, for this part, I'm just going to use this, the center line, Shift S, select it again, then Shift E, Shift S, select the cursor, scale it a bit. Right, rename E.R.E1L, and B.R.E10QL. Right? Shift S, cursor selected. Shift A, armature. Okay, Shift S, cursor selected. Cursor, and then through this. Shift S selected, and then Shift S next to the cursor. Oh. That's fine, we can fix it. Just scale it up. Scale it up slightly. There we go. We're just gonna parent this to B.R.SDL. There. We want something like that. So here, just go into post mode, then add a bool constraint, inverse schematics. We want to control it. C B.R.ECEN. Then we're just gonna we need to use both copy location and copy rotation for these two lattices. So copy location, armature 2, bone 1, and then bone 1. This one, copy location, copy location, bone, copy rotation, bone. There we go. Hide this left, hide this. There we go. Okay, so just select this, control P object, this one, control P object, and as for the eccentric crank, I'm comparing to this. B.R.descend, there we go. Alright, now to duplicate this. Again, we're just gonna copy the x-axis, open the calculator, paste it in, times 2, oof, copy this, and just select this, all of this, minus, paste the value. There we go. Rename it. B.R.Descend2R, Descend1L, and B.R.Descend-R. Okay, sorry. Right. Again. Minus 90 degrees. And Alt clear transform. Reset all to default value. Rotation and again Aaron. There we go. Let's see. Is this the same axis? Yes. Okay, so we did everything right. Then we were to separate IT phones, and mirror over these. So mirror. Again, that value. All right. This our dot name is gonna link modifiers. Select all these and Control L. Copy modifiers. Here we go. Minus 90. And isolate these. Copy. First of all, apply all the mirror modifiers. Select all. Then in edit mode, which is P selection. All P clear parent and creep transform. Set rotation geometry. Set geometry, Control A, rotation scale. There we go. Now, there we want. That's what we want to see. Control P, object. Control P, object. Control P, object. There, beautiful. Alright, last step here, we're gonna animate this part. Now usually I'm gonna do a more complex rig, but however this is a basic Walschaerts, like we only need 2 bones here. Okay, let's get started. So we're gonna do it here, Shift S, select it like usual, and then Shift A, lattice, scale it. Yeah, that looks good. Do it then here, around here, and then again, same step as before. We're just gonna select this rim, and we're just gonna duplicate. Oh wait, forgot. Name this first. B.R. What is it? RXL. So then, Shift D. Shift S, selection the cursor, and again. Here with a bit, and this part right here. Okay, just duplicate it again. Shift E, lock the x-axis, then lock the cursor. Okay, Shift S. So again, rename this B.R.RX1R B.R.RX2. Oh wait, wrong. B.R.RX1L. There we go. And RX2L. Again, if that's good for select. Select it, Shift A, armature, and then Shift S, select the cursor, edit mode, Shift S, select the cursor, extrude it again, Shift S, select it, Shift S, select the cursor. Right, we have a balloon configuration like this. We're gonna parent RXL to ST1L with the object. Again, now this is your schematic. Just hit RXL. There. Then this one, copy location, copy rotation, copy location, armature 4, bolt, zone 1, and then zone 1. Then copy rotation, copy location, phone, copy rotation, phone. Hide this temporary, P, object, control P, object. Let's see here. There we go. Now unhide this because we're gonna do the same steps as before. So outstate, that's later. Control C, then calculator times 2. There's our value right here. Like roll. Right. Then Shift D X minus. There we go. And then again rename this b.r.rx r, rx1r, and rx2r. Then we got minus 90 again. Alt P, clear and keep transform. Then Control P, object again. There we go. See here. There we go. That's last one. Hide. Same steps as before. Then b.r main, object, and then Control L, copy modifiers, again, minus 90, isolate these, apply the modifier, select this right here, P, selection, OP, clear and transform, geometry, Control A, rotation scale. Right? Nope. Okay. Control P, object. P, object. Right? There we go. Right, so final thing before we export this to 2.79 for exporting the Trainz, we're just gonna select this armature and ship select. Then we're just gonna like b.r.main and Control P, object. Right, so all the lattices and armatures are now parented to b.r.main, which is required for Trainz since b.r.main is the root basically, and all these are child. So oh wait, hide these temporary, and there we go. Right, so next is exporting. Right, export time. So we're just gonna select everything, file, export, wavefront OBJ, then Bogey. Okay, Y forward setup, selection only. And don't worry, it's not gonna, since it's an OBJ, it won't have the bones or the lattices. Okay, export wavefront OBJ. Alright, so we are now in Blender 2.79, and you can see this is the Bogey right here. We don't need this, since this is the base Bogey that I use to export the first one to 4.2, so we're just gonna delete that. Alright, then we're just going to import that one, the one we exported in 4.2 in. So import wavefront OBJ, bogey.obj, Y forward setup. There we go. Alright, so object. So still make sure that this is box. So bounding box center, object, transform, set rotation to geometry, Control A, rotation and scale. Right, so I'm going to need to do some material settings, so we will be back. Alright, so did the material settings and everything, and now it's time to paste over our rig. Yes, you can actually do that. So we're just gonna here select all by type, lattice, Control C, copy, and then we're just gonna paste them. Now you might ask, where are the bones? Well, it actually copy the bones. If I select somewhere right here, you can see this black line right here. Wait a second, box. We can't select this here. You can see here, if we come into b.r.mean, you can see the armatures. However, they are invisible since like the materials are different between Blender 4.2 and 2.79. However, it's not important here because we're gonna hide the armatures anyway. So select all by type, armatures, and then we're just gonna hide them. Okay. Well, because the animation is just gonna write to the lattices, not the bones or armatures. Whatever. Right. So I'm just gonna box select the wheel. Control P. Oh, don't forget the crank pins. Control P. Object. Check. Right. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then this crank pin. Control P. Object. Let's see. There we go. Right. Then here's this crank pin. Object C. There we go. Let's check. Also, you might be wondering, why am I in material mode and how am I getting these colors? Because like when most people make 06 models, they will go into solid and just use texture solid and like ambient occlusion. However, I don't do that, since I want to see how the material looks before this. Now, it might not line up in Trainz, since Trainz render materials in a couple different ways after I convert it to an IDM format, but I use this. And so how do I get the colors to show? Well, easy, a Hemi lamp. This also set it to this layer only, so when I combine layers, like when I shift click this, yeah, the light won't overlay each other and like make it super very white. So yeah, that's how I do things. I think I've just offended so much 06 fans, but so much like mesh editors, but I don't fucking care. This is how I do stuff. It's my computer. You can't force me. Anyways. Okay, we're just gonna reparent everything. Great. Right. We're just gonna reparent everything. Now, obviously, keep in mind you can also do this straight in 2.79, but I just found Blender 4.2 to be much more easier to use. It's way less complicated, it's way newer, and 2.79 is kind of a pain to use for me since, well, I've got so used to doing things in 4.2, everything just happens quicker, the tools are easier to like access, whatever. It's just me. It's the way I do things. Right. Yep. Holding expansion, eccentric, and expansion. Link, assembly. Doki, object. One more, then this side. You see, this is why I don't use 2.79. Like when you try to select something small like this, it just go through. Object. Okay, Control P, object. Yep, it's just b.r.main here. Home. Okay, let's. There we go. That's what we want to see. Alright, so final step now. I'm just gonna test export this. I'm not gonna pour it into Trainz just yet because this is going back to Griffin and like he's gonna do the honest. Alright, so let's see Bogey. So then we just gonna have Bogey.xml export animation data and then make meshable. I don't write lock, so but you can just do that. Okay, right. Time to export. Just this. Just gonna wait. Since like I've already like make all the materials optimized, like they're not gonna have some errors or anything. But if they do, I'm just gonna there we go. Here, let's check the Bogey. Open in Trainz Mesh Viewer 2. And there we go. It still looks like a mess here, but trust me, in Trainz it's gonna look just fine. Okay, so like that's pretty much it for this video. I'm just gonna send this back to Griffin and let him do the honors. Alright? That's it. Bye bye.